And I'm saying to myself, this is the smoothest presentation I think I've ever seen on Zoom. And I get to see you, I get to see your personality. You never leave. I don't have to. I said to myself, this is genius. What is this?
Please help me welcome Keith Bailey, Story Crafting. Story Crafting, Keith Bailey.
Age of 35, I found myself with my first desk job ever, doing the old smile and dial outbound sales. I was selling cycling apparel, which is akin to selling male lingerie. After 1 week of absolutely no sales whatsoever, lots of hangups, and one, how did you get this number? To which I respond to the gentleman, well, it's in my database. How to get into the database? I said, I don't know. He's like, I want you to delete my information. I was like, sir, absolutely. As soon as we're done with this conversation, I'm happy to delete your information. And he said, this conversation is over. Click. So I sent him an email, thanking him for his time and letting him know that I deleted his information. Shortly after this time, 1 week later, the owner, Dave, a tall man who was iconic in his denim blue jeans, and he loved to wear a blue shirt to go with it, shades of blue, came up to me and said, Keith, you're doing a great job. You're making lots of calls. I'm like, yeah, Dave, you know, it's a numbers game. It's bound to happen. He's like, it is bound to happen. But I'd like for you to try something because you're good with the product. And that's what you dive into. But I'd like you to try something. I want you to try this. And the next phone call you make is call them and sell them nothing. Sell them a conversation. We're both in the cycling apparel business here. You're into biking. So talk about what's most common to both of you, which is biking. Talk about that. And I got to tell you, it changed everything. It was like a freeing moment for me. And the big thing that changed is that I went for the long game. I went for the building of the relationship. I started to believe that, well, you may not be my customer today. Well, there's always tomorrow. So that's a really fun short story. What I'd like to do next is give you a little bit of a behind the scenes breakdown of how the story comes together. And throughout this, I'm going to engage you in the chat box as well. So I'm going to give you a couple of links. I'm also going to ask you a couple of questions. And for the person who answers it correctly, I'm going to give you an hour of my time to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Sounds appealing, right? All right. First thing from a takeaway standpoint, reading is knowledge. And with that, there's a book that I absolutely love, and it's called Storyworthy. It's by Matthew Dix. And one of the things that he speaks to is what is most common is most universal. So in the story that you tell, it doesn't have to be grandiose. You don't have to be Brooke Chestnut to go climb Mount Everest, which if you listen to his story, it's not about Mount Everest. And the reason why that is because if the story is too grandiose, your audience can't relate. You can relate to this story. We've all made phone calls. We've possibly had people hang up on us. We've had a boss, a teacher, a mentor who gave us sage advice. And as I tell this story, you're right there along with me because it is such a common story. The other thing about this story, and this is very important, it also comes from Matthew Dix, is that all great stories are about a 5-second moment in time where something happens. In the chat box, who here can tell me what the 5-second moment in time is in this story? Yes, the boss telling you to change the conversation. That is the 5-second moment in time. Thank you so much, Danny, for being in that moment. We want to start the story as close to that 5-second moment as we possibly can. There isn't necessarily a need for going back too far. Dialogue is important. You want to speak in the voice of the person. So you want to give them a personality because it fills the stage with more people than just you. You notice that when I was speaking to the person who wanted me to delete his information, it was a bit of an aggressive tone. I changed my voice just a little bit to give him that personality. When I gave the voice of Dave, I made it a little bit more soothing, a little bit more pleasant to listen to, something that a teacher, the voice the teacher would speak in. So you want to speak in the tone and the voice of the person and the character that you're creating. And next, I want to get into OT's observation. This is a good friend of mine. He talks about story and science. That's his area of expertise. But he's come up with an observation. And I just absolutely love this for inclusion in the story. Here's the first one. Who here can tell me, the first person to do so wins a prize. Who here can tell me how old I was in the story? 35. Danny again. 35. Speaker Liz Rutledge. Liz, you get out of my time. Danny, you can only one time to win. I'm not gonna go for 2 hours. 35. For some reason, whenever we add a number into the conversation, into the story, it becomes really, really memorable. And here's the second part of Odie's observation. Who can tell me what color shirt Dave was wearing? Blue. Liz Rutledge again. And who came after that? Let's take a look here. Joan Janice got the second one, so fantastic. Joan, we're gonna have an hour to spend together as well. Odie's observation is that when we add a color and a number to the story, they become sticky and more memorable. So for today, my goal was to give you some takeaways, talk about things that are universal, get as close to that 5-second moment in time as you possibly can, have dialogue in the story, and very importantly, try working with adding a number and a color into the story to make it more sticky. Toastmaster?
This is genius. What is this? I want this. Oh man.
I figured out a really low-tech way of making a virtual background an interactive background. The first thing that I started playing around with that I recommend doing is getting Canva. If you haven't gotten that already.
I just signed up for that. I haven't figured out how to use it, but I'm paying my $15 subscription per month.
And it's worth every penny. Your Zoom virtual background.
Oh my God.
With your subscription, you get a lot more selection here. So I've taken Zoom virtual backgrounds and let's go into all my background. This is the one that you saw in the speech today. And
love that one.
What I like about this setup is the rule of thirds, right? 2/3 is my room to move. And then I have 1/3, which is my classroom. So I build it like a PowerPoint. Pretty much. I have, you can upload, you can put templates, you can put all your logos, you can put anything into here, but I basically built it. So this is the first screen that you see in the speech. And when I get done with my story and I give you the back view, these are all the screens and I just built them out. This thing took me, I built it this morning, like 20 minutes before my speech.
No way.
Because I knew I've done this enough times. I knew what I wanted to get across. So this is clip art off of the worldwide. My logo, you can just take logos and import things and just drop it in.
Yeah, I've got a logo. Yep.
Yeah, it'll remember all of it. You can place it anywhere you want to. You can move stuff around. Like, it is super easy and intuitive to use. But I built the whole thing in here, and I think it's a total of 10 slides. Now, here's what you end up doing. You take this, you download all of it, and I'm not going to hit this because I already have it in my downloads folder.
Yep, I'm familiar with this part.
Once it's in your downloads folder, right, it'll show up as a zip file. You open it up, and here's all 10 slides. Now, this is a cool thing about Zoom. Zoom will, if you keep your virtual screen open, it keeps it as the top layer. No matter what you open, it's always on the very top. So what you do is you go to the plus, you go to add an image. I'm going to go back to that download. So here it happens to be right here. I'll select all of it. And here's where cool. The numbering is key because the number that it's listed in here is the order in which it grabs it. So whatever I use, I always number it. And if I have an additional slide I want to put in, it'll be like slide 4.5 and it'll slot right into that spot. I take this, I open it up. It'll spin the wheel a couple of times. And then here it is. The whole thing gets dropped in. Now here's what gets really fun about this. And this is the why it's just so awesome is using my keyboard. Because I'm clicked in here, if I hit the arrow, I will now automatically start changing. I'm going to stop the screen share here, but as long as I hit my arrow, I will automatically roll through my entire presentation. And I just hit the sideways arrow.
Now this is your actual background. These aren't, this is like your virtual background. Is that what's coming up here? It's not, so you're not sharing slides.
No.
Because that just drives me crazy.
Yeah,
oh my God. And I love the fact that I get to see you the entire time. I've been trying to figure this out. You have no idea how much money I've spent. I just bought this thing. What is this freaking thing called? Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
I just bought one of those, and I got a camera that's on order, and it's just like, I'm thinking this is getting really, really expensive. And I'm saying to myself, I don't think he's doing this.
Nope. This is all. It's in here now. It's important that you number them, grab the
Yeah.
whole thing, and stick it into your virtual backgrounds, and then just side arrow, because we know that the presentation rolls on. So I just, as I'm talking, and we're going to do these 4 things. Here's the first thing is this guy, and here's a quote to it. And in Zoom, if I want to, right, because I want to stay here and stay present with you, I can
Yes.
turn off my mirror. I can actually see what's written on my screen as I'm presenting.
Mm-hmm.
Right. One thing I do also in all my presentations, I hide my self view, because the narcissism in me, right, just wants to look at myself the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, because this other screen in settings in Zoom is open, I have my virtual background settings open, I can catch a glimpse of myself and see where I am in my deck, but without ever leaving the actual screen.
Wow, that is just absolutely brilliant, man. This is the biggest thing I have been struggling with. I have not liked about. And I'm saying to myself, this is the smoothest presentation I think I've ever seen on Zoom, and I get to see you. I get to see your personality. You never leave. I don't have to. I said to myself, this is genius. What is this? I want this. Oh man, oh man.